Hello, and welcome to Network Security Basics. This presentation is an introduction to one of the most important topics in networking. This production is not meant to make you an expert in the field of network security, which takes many years. Rather, it is designed to introduce basic topics that serve as a framework to further study security. Also, knowing the information in this video will better prepare you to defend against the many types of network attacks that exist today. This knowledge will serve as your first line of defense against network attack. Businesses today depend upon information, data, customer identification information, and service. It is not surprising, therefore, that network attacks focus on these business necessities. Information theft involves stealing such documents as corporate research results. Data loss and manipulation involves deletion of database records or changing of price information. Identity theft involves the stealing of an individual's personal information in order to apply for credit cards and make unauthorized purchases, for example. Disruption of service includes denying legitimate users from services to which they are entitled, such as web or email service. Attacks can originate either from outside an organization or from within an organization. Interestingly, according to the FBI, internal access and misuse of computer systems account for approximately 70% of reported incidents of security breaches. There are many types of network attacks that are designed to steal information, destroy or manipulate data, disrupt services, or steal one's identity. The details of such attacks are well beyond the scope of this presentation. However, you should take time to research the following attacks in order to better prepare for defending against them. The attacks that you should be familiar with include social engineering, phishing, viruses, worms, and Trojan horses, denial of service and brute force attacks, spyware, tracking cookies, adware and pop-ups, and spam. One way to minimize vulnerability to network threats and specific attacks is to develop a security policy. A security policy is a formal statement of the rules that users must adhere to when accessing technology and information assets. A security policy is a dynamic or ever-changing document that evolves just as network threats evolve. Some parts to include in a security policy include identification and authentication policies, which serve to define who should have electronic access to network resources and physical access to network hardware, password policies, which ensure users meet minimum password requirements and change their passwords regularly, acceptable use policies, which identify appropriate use of the network, remote access policies, which define how off-site users can connect to the network and what resources they can access, network maintenance procedures, which outline how upgrades and updates are applied, and incident handling procedures, which specify how events such as security breaches are addressed. One way to protect network devices from various forms of attack is to use a network firewall. A firewall resides between two or more networks and controls the traffic between them, as well as helps prevent unauthorized access. The basic job as a firewall is to let trusted traffic into a network and keep untrusted traffic out. There are many different types of firewalls that can use different methods to complete this task. These include dedicated standalone hardware such as the Cisco PIX and ASA, server-based firewalls, which are applications that run on network operating systems, integrated firewalls, which are devices with firewall functionality built in, such as a router with a built-in firewall, and personal firewalls, which are applications that run on host computers. Our final animation demonstrates how a firewall protects an internal network from external threats, while still allowing external traffic to access certain necessary corporate resources that are located on a separate network. Before we set the animation in motion, let's define parts of the network and put the example into a realistic context. First, this example demonstrates what is called a demilitarized zone architecture, or DMZ architecture. A DMZ architecture consists of an internal network, an external network, and any number of DMZs. This architecture is commonly implemented with dedicated hardware firewalls such as the Cisco ASA. In this example, the Internet is the external network. Although there are many different ways to implement a DMZ architecture, This deployment illustrates a dual firewall design. In such a design, the external-facing firewall is the less restrictive of the two, since it does need to allow traffic to the DMZ. Since there is only a web server in the DMZ, an example rule on the external firewall might be to disallow all types of traffic except HTTP requests into the DMZ. Now let's give our network a context. Suppose that our network is that of a business that sells products via a web page. In this situation, external users should be able to visit the web page to evaluate and possibly purchase products. Likewise, internal users should have access to the company web page in order to find, let's say, product information. The firewalls in the DMZ architecture function to allow both external and internal traffic to reach the web server. Let's further suppose that the internal network has an FTP server that allows corporate users to access policies and procedures, forms, and other internal documents that should not be shared with the outside world. In this case, the firewall on the left functions to block traffic originating from the external network that tries to enter the FTP server on the internal network. Let's watch the animation now. In the first segment, an internal user requests information from the web server located in the DMZ. Because of rules that are specified in the corporate security policy and implemented on the firewall, this traffic is allowed.